You stand upon the quiet surface of the earth, and beneath your stillness, an ancient motion never stops. The world breathes, not in air, but in heat. Its lungs are the molten chambers deep within, its pulse the slow drift of magma that stirs without pause. You cannot hear it, yet it hums beneath every continent, a low, steady rhythm, older than life itself. Close your eyes. Imagine the layers below you, one beneath another: crust, mantle, outer core, inner core, a series of veils hiding a glowing heart. The outer crust, where you stand, is thin, a fragile skin floating upon a vast ocean of molten rock. It seems still, yet beneath it, the planet churns like a living thing in the beginning. Billions of years ago, the Earth was a sphere of fire. A newborn star's leftover dust and stone collided, and through their violence, heat was born. Gravity pressed everything inward, and the young planet glowed, molten, chaotic, radiant. No ocean, no air, only flame and liquid stone. As the world cooled, a crust formed, thin, cracked, trembling under its own youth. Heavy elements like iron sank inward, settling into the core, while lighter minerals floated upward, forming continents yet unnamed. What you now call ground was once a floating ash. What you now call home was once drifting fire. You might think of the earth as solid, unmoving, dependable, but even stone has its tides. Heat rises from the core like breath, moving through the mantle in great, slow currents. This movement, this ceaseless convection, is the quiet respiration of the planet. It lifts continents, separates oceans, and mends its crust. If you could speed time, you would see continents drift like clouds of rock. They collide, break, reform. Mountains rise and fall like waves upon a cosmic sea. Every few 100 million years, the face of the earth remakes itself entirely. Oceans close. Deserts bloom, forests vanish, and still the deep breath continues. You feel this breath as earthquakes, as volcanoes, as the soft trembling of the ground after rain. These are not disasters, but the earth stretching in its long sleep. Just as your chest expands and contracts as you rest, so too does the planet inhale and exhale through its shifting plates in the core. Temperatures soar above 5,000 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. Pressure crushes atoms into dense, ordered layers, forcing liquid iron to spin and flow. That motion generates a magnetic field, a shimmering cocoon that shields the earth from the harsh wind of space. Without it, the air you breathe would be stripped away. So even the invisible, the unseen turning of metal thousands of kilometers below is a quiet act of protection, a gesture of life from the deep. You are made of this earth. The iron in your blood was forged in the same cosmic fire that now rests in the planet's core. The calcium in your bones, the silica in your cells, they mirror the minerals beneath the crust. You are a reflection of this world, its patient chemistry shaped into consciousness. When you walk, the ground seems still, yet with each step, you connect to a moving miracle. Rocks shift in slow ballet, and continents drift in silence. You, too, are part of that motion, carried gently by the planet's pulse. The air hums, faintly, with geothermal whispers. Geysers rise from fractures in the crust, steam venting the Earth's breath into the sky. Volcanoes, though feared, are simply the planet's way of exhaling too quickly, a sudden release of built-up tension. The magma that erupts is ancient memory, molten rock returning to the surface to begin again as new crust, new mountains, new soil. Even the smallest pebble you find on a path has traveled through eons of transformation. It might once have been ash in the sky, then magma, then ocean sediment, then mountain, then dust again. Every grain of sand tells a story of fire, cooled and crushed and reborn. You sit quietly and imagine the world as one vast organism, its crust a thin skin, its mantle a slow-beating heart, its core a furnace of creation. In every tremor and eruption you can feel its emotion, the restlessness of matter becoming form, the serenity of balance restored. There is comfort in knowing that beneath chaos lies rhythm. Even destruction in the Earth's way is a form of renewal. A volcano's ash, rich in minerals, feeds forests for centuries. The collapse of a mountain feeds the sea with nutrients. Everything cycles, everything breathes again. Now, look around you. The soil that holds your feet, the rocks that line the horizon, the distant mountains that cradle clouds, all are part of the same quiet conversation between heat and time. The air cools as the night deepens. Beneath the stillness, you can almost feel the warmth far below, the slow turning of the planet's core, the sigh of magma against stone. It is not a sound, but a vibration, a heartbeat too slow for human ears. And yet your body recognizes it, because, in a way, you share it. When you breathe, you mirror the planet's rhythm. When you sleep, you return to its calm. Your heartbeat slows to the same gentle pace as tectonic drift, a reminder that life and planet are not separate stories, but verses of the same poem. There is peace in imagining the earth as alive, not in the way of creatures, but in the patience of stone. Its breath is long. Its dreams are mountains. It moves not for haste, but for harmony. And in that slow motion, everything finds balance. If you could see through time, you would watch continents glide apart and together, oceans form and vanish, volcanoes rise and sleep. You would realize that nothing truly ends, it simply changes shape. The same elements that once burned in the early earth now rest in the bones of mountains. And in you, the planet that forged fire now carries forests and thought. And beneath it all, the breath continues, unseen, eternal, gentle. As you drift toward rest, imagine your body sinking softly into the soil, not to be lost, but to listen. Below, the mantle murmurs, the core hums in molten concentration, and somewhere between the crust and the stars, you find equilibrium, the steady balance between motion and stillness, between time and silence. The earth breathes, and so do you. You are both temporary and timeless, a flicker of awareness riding the calm exhalation of a living world beneath the quiet of night. Beneath the calm of your thoughts, the planet dreams in molten waves, its rhythm keeping you grounded in infinity. And as you fall into sleep, you might wonder if the earth breathes beneath you. What secret songs lie deeper still, waiting to rise in rivers of stone? You can imagine a continent gliding over this slowly moving carpet of stone, pushed along by forces you cannot feel, yet guided by the eternal logic of heat and density. Where currents descend, subduction zones form. One plate bends beneath another, returning cooled rock to the depths. The mantle accepts it, warming it again, ready to rise once more in a patient, endless cycle. It is a rhythm without urgency, a silent music of heat and stone, repeated for billions of years, carving valleys and sculpting mountains, raising volcanoes and forming trenches. The flow is not chaotic. It is gentle, steady, inevitable. Imagine standing on a continent, drifting slowly across the face of the earth. You feel no movement in a single day, yet over centuries you would witness oceans widen, mountains collide, and seas vanish. This is the pace of stone rivers, and in that pace, you sense a profound patience that humbles the human heart. Mantle plumes rise like silent towers of heat, sometimes piercing the crust to create volcanoes far from tectonic boundaries. These upwellings remind us that the earth is alive in hidden ways, its inner heat shaping the surface we inhabit. Beneath the Pacific, under Africa, under Siberia, rivers of stone flow, invisible yet undeniable. And as they flow, they carry continents across time, as if whispering, "You are moving, always, even when you seem still." The minerals themselves have a story. Olivine, pyroxene, garnet, names that once seemed distant and abstract, now pulse in your imagination. Each atom a dancer in a molten ballet. They bend, break, and reform, absorbing the heat of the deep earth, then releasing it slowly, shaping everything above. The mantle is alive in the sense that it changes, adapts, and moves patiently, persistently, endlessly. You notice that even in this slow dance, there is variety. Some currents are faster, some slower, some more turbulent, some serene. The earth is never static, even when it seems so. It has moods, almost like a heartbeat, sometimes calm, sometimes restless, but always returning to equilibrium. And as you breathe, you sense a connection. Your own pulse echoes faintly, the rhythm of blood flowing through vessels, mirroring the subtle flow of mantle currents. You are not separate from the earth, but a reflection of its patience, a participant in its ceaseless, quiet motion. Rivers of stone carry the weight of history. The rocks beneath Africa, Asia, and Europe have traveled thousands of kilometers over eons. They remember collisions, separations, and transformations. Every fold and fracture is a line in the earth's story, and your steps on the surface are the newest verse. You may feel small, but within this slow, silent river, you are part of something vast. You are carried along currents older than time, yet intimately close, as if the earth itself holds you gently in its rhythm. The flow beneath your feet is patient, yet powerful. It reminds you that change does not need urgency. Mountains rise in centuries, oceans open in millennia, and life blooms quietly atop this moving stage. It is a meditation in motion, a gentle reminder that the planet's breath is slow and deliberate, and that all things find their course eventually. In the dark of night, you imagine these rivers beneath continents. You close your eyes and imagine what lies beneath the ground beneath your feet. The soil, the pebbles, the mountains you see around you, all float upon a world in motion. Beneath the crust, the earth is not solid as it seems. It flows slowly, like honey under weight, like rivers of stone moving through time. The mantle stretches from the base of the crust to the edge of the outer core. Nearly 2,900 kilometers deep, it is mostly solid, yet over millennia, rock behaves like liquid. You feel the rhythm of this hidden river as a calm pulse, its movement imperceptible, yet shaping everything you see. The continents you stand upon drift upon these currents, like leaves floating on a deep, invisible stream. Heat rises from the core, a gentle warmth that pushes upward, carrying energy that has traveled billions of years. The lower mantle is dense, stubborn, yet patient. It yields to the forces of pressure and heat, flowing in currents measured in centimeters per year. Time in this place is slow beyond imagination, a rhythm that outlasts lifetimes, civilizations, even mountains. Imagine these currents as great rivers beneath the surface. Their waters are molten rock, shimmering in shades of red, orange, and gold. They move not in haste, but with persistent patience, carrying thermal energy from the inner earth toward the crust. As they rise, they create gentle upwellings, and where they descend, they drag cooler rock back into the depths. It is a cycle of warmth and coolness, of rise and fall that never ceases. This movement, called mantle convection, is the engine of the planet. It drives the drift of continents, the creation of mountains, the opening of oceans, and the collapse of ancient seas. Every mountain chain, every valley, every trench is a record of these slow, patient currents flowing beneath the surface. And you, resting upon this living world, are carried along unknowing, yet inseparable from its motion. Rocks in the mantle behave differently, depending on depth. Near the crust, they are cooler, more rigid, but still capable of bending. Deeper down, the immense heat softens the minerals, allowing them to flow imperceptibly over millennia. It is a delicate balance between solidity and fluidity, between resistance and surrender. And the earth has perfected this dance over billions of years. You may wonder how solid rock can flow. Imagine a glacier inching forward over centuries. Though seemingly unyielding, it bends, compresses, and creeps. So too does mantle rock, responding to heat and pressure. Over eons, it moves continents, reshapes ocean basins, and carries with it the silent stories of the Earth's past. Each grain of mineral in these flowing layers has been forged in unimaginable heat, recycled countless times, and now participates in a rhythm that is older than life itself. At mid-ocean ridges, these mantle currents rise. Molten rock pushes upward, creating new oceanic crust. Here, the earth grows, expanding the seafloor imperceptibly, yet persistently. Moving silently, invisibly, shaping the world with their molten patience. Every heartbeat you feel, every breath you take, echoes the slow pulse of stone. And as your body drifts toward sleep, you carry the knowledge that the ground beneath, not with noise, not with haste, but with quiet, eternal motion. The continents, mountains, and oceans, you see, they are all travelers on rivers of stone, moving in rhythms you can feel if you listen deeply. Tonight, you rest upon a world in motion, and as your mind wanders with the slow currents, you feel the promise of what is to come, the earth stretching apart, folding together, opening oceans, raising mountains, and whispering its patient, ceaseless story. Beneath the crust, the mantle flows. Beneath your awareness, rivers of stone move, and in that movement you recognize a pattern. Even the solid, the seemingly unmoving, dances in time, and so, as the night deepens, you wonder softly, what happens when the earth stretches far enough to open the first great divide of a new ocean, where stone parts like a river splitting to meet the sea. Beneath the deep blue of the ocean, the earth is quietly alive. You cannot hear it, yet a soft rhythm pulses through the water, mirroring the secret motion of stone below. The seafloor is not fixed. It stretches, rises, and drifts, a slow, deliberate exhale of the planet. Imagine yourself as a tiny observer, floating in the abyss between continents. Beneath you, the crust thins, pulled apart by forces you cannot see. Molten rock seeps upward, shimmering in darkness, solidifying into new oceanic crust. This is the birthplace of the seafloor, and you are witnessing a slow creation story, measured not in days or years, but in millions of seasons. The mid-ocean ridges stretch like long, glowing seams across the globe, a network of molten veins where the earth exhales heat and energy. Here, the mantle's currents rise, carrying warmth from the depths, lifting rock toward the surface. As it cools, it forms fresh crust, pushing older plates gently aside, and the oceans begin to widen imperceptibly. You feel the power of patience in this process. New crust emerges, cold water embraces it, and yet the motion is not abrupt. The plates glide apart slowly, like dancers in a silent, ancient ballet, measured and precise. The movement is continuous, a rhythm older than humanity, older than life itself. Look closely at the fractures. The rift is more than a crack in the earth. It is a gateway, a seam where the planet repairs itself and produces beauty in the form of undersea mountains and valleys. Hydrothermal vents rise along the ridges, spouting warmth into the frigid water. Strange, tiny creatures cling to the mineral-rich rocks, thriving in darkness, fed by the earth's hidden fire. Life, it seems, follows the slow logic of stone. The ocean above is calm, yet beneath, the earth stretches with quiet insistence. Basaltic rock hardens as magma cools, forming the backbone of oceans yet to fully exist. The oldest crust is carried outward, retreating from the ridge like leaves floating downstream. Eventually, it disappears into deep trenches, subducted into the mantle to melt, to rise again, recycled in an endless cycle. You might wonder about the forces that pull these continents apart. It is a subtle, patient tug, the mantle's convection currents, combined with the weight of sinking slabs, that guides this slow migration. There is no hurry here. 1,000 years pass unnoticed, and yet the plates continue their silent journey. This is the slow artistry of the earth, where time stretches like molten rock, and the tiniest movement has unimaginable impact. The Mediterranean ridges are not uniform. Some rise higher, forming underwater mountains. Others create valleys, narrow and deep, filled with the constant hum of geologic activity. The water above seems infinite, but the motion beneath it carries countenance, shapes oceans, and records the history of our planet in every fold, every fissure, every new layer of stone. Picture a line of mountains rising from the ocean floor. Each peak is a testament to the forces that pull continents apart. Magnetism preserved in the rock tells a story of reversals in Earth's magnetic field, of epochs when north and south swapped places, all recorded silently in basalt. Every layer is a page in the planet's diary, every ridge a chapter of deep time. You feel small, yet intimately connected. The crust you walk upon was born in these ridges long ago. Even the continents themselves are passengers on these slow-moving currents, traveling across the globe in an eternal dance. Africa, South America, North America, all were once joined. All will drift, converge, and diverge again as the earth breathes in its long, quiet rhythm. Hydrothermal vents along the ridges create life in darkness. Tiny worms, bacteria, and crustaceans thrive, their existence sustained by minerals and heat alone. They remind you that life does not wait for perfect conditions, but adapts to the patient work of molten stone. Above them, the ocean's surface is calm, yet the hidden currents carry the story of creation and the promise of transformation as the plates move. Earthquakes occasionally ripple through the ocean floor. They are brief, sudden reminders of the tension built up over centuries. Even in this slow, deliberate motion, pressure accumulates until it must release. And yet, this is not destruction, but part of the balance, a necessary breath in the patient exhalation of the planet. The mid-ocean ridge is also a laboratory of heat. Warm water rises through fractures, creating clouds of mineral-rich plumes. Chemical reactions unfold invisibly, shaping rocks and metals, fertilizing unseen ecosystems. Life emerges not by haste, but by the quiet, persistent motion of heat and stone. If you could see the entire process at once, you would watch continents drift imperceptibly apart, oceans expanding silently, mountains forming under the waves. Time here moves differently, its heartbeat measured in millennia, its breath a continuous song of heat, pressure, and motion. Even human perception feels fleeting beside this rhythm. A day, a year, a lifetime, mere flickers on the slow stage of the earth. Yet you are a witness, a participant, carried gently along with the currents of stone. You understand that creation does not rush, and that the planet's most profound movements are hidden from the casual eye. The water above ripples softly, reflecting light from distant stars, while below, molten rock continues its patient ascent. The crust is born, spreads, and ages, each movement a verse in an epic of stone and heat. You imagine yourself floating alongside the rising magma, tracing its path, feeling the rhythm of creation. And as you drift with the currents, you notice the delicate balance of this great divide. The earth stretches, separates, yet the plates never wander freely. Gravity, heat, and density guide them, keeping the dance precise, eternal, and harmonious. You breathe with the planet. Each slow exhale carries the weight of oceans. Each inhale lifts new crust to the surface. You sense the power of time and the quiet patience of molten rivers beneath your feet. It is a lesson in endurance, rhythm, and balance. And as the night deepens, you feel the promise of new landscapes rising, mountains yet to breach the sea, valleys yet to cradle life, continents slowly drifting toward destinies written in stone. You are carried gently, not hurried, not lost, but held in the patient flow of creation itself. And so you wonder softly as the planet stretches beneath you. What secrets lie at the next great collision, where drifting continents will meet again, twofold, to rise, and to shape the face of the earth once more? Imagine two continents, immense and silent, moving slowly toward each other. Across millennia, oceans between them vanish, seas retreat, sediments fold, and the crust begins to buckle. The earth holds its breath as stone collides, and mountains are born from the patient pressure of moving plates. You stand beside this collision, not seeing it in a day, but feeling its rhythm over centuries. Rock behaves like a thick, viscous fluid, folding, crumpling, and thrusting skyward. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, all are testament to these quiet, colossal meetings. Pressure builds gradually, invisible to human eyes, yet it shapes the land with subtle insistence, folding layers into sharp ridges and gentle valleys, cracking the crust, lifting peaks, forming rivers that will one day carve through stone. The earth's patience is immense, its persistence unyielding. You imagine standing at the base of a newborn mountain. The rock under your feet has traveled thousands of kilometers, carried by slow mantle currents, compressed and heated, until it finally rises above the surrounding land. Each layer tells a story. Sediments, once at the bottom of oceans, now towering thousands of meters above sea level. The process is called orogene, mountain building. It occurs at convergent plate boundaries, where the crust is compressed and folded. Continents cannot sink into the mantle like oceanic plates. Mountains, in their majestic tom, are the earth's quiet rebellion, proof of time, pressure, and unceasing motion. You notice the rivers that trace the slopes of these peaks. They begin as snow, rain, and springs, but their paths are guided by the folds of rock below. They carve valleys, carry sediments, and nourish life, all shaped by forces you cannot see, all moving at the patient pace of the planet itself. Faults form in response to pressure. Earthquakes are the release of stress accumulated over centuries, sudden reminders that even the slowest processes carry energy. Yet the collisions are not violent in the way you might imagine. They are persistent, deliberate, shaping the land with care. You feel a connection to these movements, understanding that patience can be powerful, and that immense change often occurs quietly. Look at the rocks themselves. Metamorphic minerals gleam beneath your gaze, altered by heat and pressure over millions of years. Granite, gneiss, schist, they are the memory of collision, recording stress, folding, and uplift. The earth writes its autobiography in stone, and mountains are its most visible chapters. Volcanoes sometimes rise along convergent boundaries. Subducting plates melt as they descend into the mantle, sending magma upward through fractures. These eruptions are intermittent, dramatic, but the mountains themselves grow more slowly, layer upon layer, over vast stretches of time. Even in fire, the process is measured, patient, deliberate. You breathe slowly and imagine standing on a ridge. The air is thin, the wind cold. You feel the weight of stone beneath you, the immensity of time that has folded continents into place. The sky above is vast, yet it seems smaller against the towering peaks carved by forces unseen. The landscape is not static. Glaciers advance and retreat, rivers cut canyons, and erosion wears away the summits over millennia. Even mountains, these giants, are subject to the gentle pull of time. They rise and fall, yet the process continues, uninterrupted. The Earth's patience is infinite, and its movements are a meditation in stone. Consider the seismic waves that ripple through these ranges. They are the Earth's heartbeat, subtle vibrations that tell of stress. You cannot hear them without instruments, but you can sense them in imagination, feeling the pulse of a planet reshaping itself. Life adapts to the mountain's creation. Forests cling to slopes, animals find refuge in valleys, rivers carve pathways for fish and plants. Even human history is shaped by these giants' paths, trade routes, and settlements, all molded by the slow rise of stone. You see that tectonic motion is both creative and sustaining, a patient force that sculpts the planet's surface and guides life. The tallest peaks are but a fraction of the crust's movement. Below, the mantle continues to flow, pushing the continents together, shaping the surface imperceptibly, reminding you that the visible is only a small part of the Earth's story. Time is a river here, its current steady and unhurried, and every stone, every fold, every ridge is a verse in the endless poem of motion. As you trace the ridges with your imagination, you notice valleys forming where compression is less intense. The Earth's stress is uneven, and the landscape reflects this delicate balance. Mountains rise where pressure is greatest, plains stretch where movement is gentle, and rivers carve a path through both. It is a symphony of force, patient and precise. Even as night falls and your eyes close, you feel the tension and release beneath your feet. The giants move slowly, unseen, yet every breath of the earth contributes to the shapes above. The mountains remember the collisions, the pressures, the heat, and the slow dance of stone. And you, standing on this living world, are part of the same rhythm, carried by the pulse of continents. Moving, shaping, enduring, you reflect on the immense patience required. Stone moves over millennia. Oceans shift, trenches form, and life persists atop these changes. The Earth's giant movements are lessons in quiet endurance, in slow, deliberate transformation, reminding you that creation takes time, and that even the largest forces can be gentle. Imagine the peaks growing ever taller, clouds gathering around them, snow blanketing the slopes, and rivers tracing paths that will never repeat exactly. Each element is a note in a symphony of motion, composed over eons by forces both visible and hidden. The earth sings softly, and you listen, carried on the rhythm of stone. And as your mind drifts, you feel the promise of the next chapter of Earth's story, the slow subduction, the melting rock, the recycling of crust into new beginnings, where endings become beginnings, and the pulse of creation never ceases beneath the giants. The earth breathes and moves, and in that motion you find your place, carried gently into the next mystery of deep time and patient stone. Beneath the surface, a hidden dance unfolds. One plate slides slowly beneath another, descending into the mantle with the weight of countenance above. This is subduction, the Earth's quiet recycling system. where crust is neither lost nor wasted, but transformed over unimaginable spans of time. Imagine standing at the edge of an ocean trench. The water above is deep and calm, but beneath lies a descending slab of rock, folding downward like a great curtain pulled slowly by unseen hands. You feel the weight of millions of years as the lithosphere bends and flows, carrying sediments, minerals, and the echoes of ancient seas into the depths. As the plate sinks, friction and pressure rise. The rock heats and bends, its minerals rearranging at the atomic level, preparing for a new chapter of Earth's story. This is the secret rhythm of renewal. The destruction of old crust is also the creation of new. You sense the elegance of this process, as if the earth were breathing in slow, deliberate cycles, exhaling mountains and inhaling oceans. Molten material from the mantle sometimes follows the sinking slab upward, creating volcanoes on the overriding plate. These volcanoes are not random eruptions, but the Earth's careful release of accumulated heat and pressure. They form chains like the Andes, or islands like Japan, reminders that beneath destruction lies transformation. Time in these zones is unlike human time. A single century is imperceptible. Millennia pass as moments, yet the changes are profound. Oceans close, mountains rise, trenches deepen, and life adapts to the subtle shifts of continents. Every organism, every river, every soil particle is part of this patient, continuous movement. You may picture the descending plate as a slow river of stone, flowing into the mantle, where it softens under heat and pressure. Here, transformation begins. Old basalt becomes denser, metamorphic minerals rearrange, and the plate slowly merges with the mantle's convective currents. It is a silent, invisible alchemy, turning yesterday's crust into tomorrow's molten potential. Above, volcanoes rise like breathing chimneys, venting the Earth's hidden energy. Lava flows sculpt landscapes, layering new rock over the old. Each eruption a quiet reminder that destruction is only part of creation. The Earth never wastes. It repurposes, carrying the memory of oceans, mountains, and continents back into its molten heart. Hydrothermal systems thrive in these regions. Seawater seeps into fractures, interacts with descending rock, and carries heat and minerals back to the surface. Tiny ecosystems cling to vents, feeding on the chemical energy of molten rock. Life persists here in darkness, sustained by the patient cycles of stone and heat. You close your eyes and imagine the journey of a single grain of basalt. It formed at a mid-ocean ridge, traveled across the seafloor as the ocean widened, and eventually reached a subduction zone. It sinks slowly, carried into the mantle, where heat and pressure reshape it, preparing it to rise again someday, perhaps in a distant volcano, in a land your ancestors will walk upon. Subduction zones are also earthquakes, silent theaters. Stress builds over centuries as plates lock together, then releases suddenly in trembling pulses. These quakes remind you of the Earth's power, yet their rhythm is part of a larger meditation, a balance between tension and release, between destruction and creation. Even in sudden movement, there is a pattern, a slow, inevitable order. Metamorphism transforms descending rock. Minerals realign, recrystallize, and adapt to new conditions. The Earth is patient, allowing change to occur over immense spans of time. It teaches you that transformation need not be immediate. Even the hardest stone can bend and reform. If given enough time and the right conditions, ocean trenches themselves are profound landscapes. They are narrow, deep, and hidden from casual view, yet they mark the boundaries where continents interact. They are the Earth's quiet fingerprints, traces of the slow choreography of tectonics. And you, floating above in imagination, sense the immensity of this invisible work. The magma carries the history of oceanic crust, sediments, and the mantle's own memories. Each eruption adds a layer, not with haste, but with purpose. Land emerges from water, mountains rise, and life follows wherever stone allows. Subduction zones also generate tsunamis, though rarely. Even these are reminders of the planet's rhythm, a sudden note in a long, slow symphony. They ripple across oceans, moving energy vast distances, and eventually fade, returning the world to calm. The Earth balances itself carefully, its processes continuous, measured, inevitable. As you drift with the imagination of these hidden currents, you feel the cycle of destruction and creation. Old crust is never truly lost. It becomes part of the mantle's flowing river, ready to rise again in new forms. The Earth is not static. It is a symphony of motion. Each note, a continent, a trench, a volcano. Each rest, a brief pause in the ongoing meditation of stone, rocks descending, magma rising, mountains forming. You witness the planet's patient recycling. Time stretches infinitely here, and you feel the majesty of cycles beyond human perception. The processes that shape the Earth occur without urgency, yet their results are grand beyond imagination. You realize that subduction is not an ending. It is preparation, transformation, and renewal. Old oceanic crust feeds new volcanic arcs, sinks into the mantle to rise again, and continues the eternal flow of creation. The planet is never idle, never careless, but deliberate in its slow, rhythmic choreography. Beneath your awareness, the Earth hums softly. The descending plate, the rising magma, the folding and metamorphosis of stone, all are parts of a patient meditation. And as you lie quietly, you recognize your own rhythm in harmony with the planet. The subduction song is continuous, unbroken, a melody of pressure and heat, descent and ascent, destruction and renewal. You feel your body breathing in sync with this quiet music, your thoughts drifting with the patient flow of Earth's interior. And as you fall deeper into sleep, you imagine the molten currents rising once more, ready to form new crust, new mountains, new life. The Earth teaches you that endings are beginnings, that cycles are eternal, and that beneath the surface, the planet whispers its quiet, ceaseless song of renewal. Deep beneath the crust, you sense movement. The mantle flows, pushing warm rock upward. Pressure builds in hidden chambers, and the Earth's heat collects like a reservoir waiting for release. Molten rock, magma, gathers strength silently, pressing gently against the weight of overlying stone. Imagine the path of this magma as it rises, carving its way through fractures and weakened rock. It moves slowly, deliberately, shaping its own journey toward the surface. Every centimeter is a patient negotiation, a dialogue between pressure and resistance, between molten fire and rigid stone. You stand beside an awakening volcano. The slopes are calm now, yet you sense the energy beneath, ready to sculpt the land, to breathe smoke, ash, and lava into the sky. Volcanoes are not sudden in their formation. They are patient mountains, grown from cycles of heat, pressure, and stone. Above, the land seems stable, yet each eruption is the culmination of millennia. The Earth's heat forces its way upward, creating new rocks, new valleys, new landscapes. Volcanoes carry the memory of subduction, of colliding plates, of molten rivers deep in the mantle. Every eruption is a whisper of the planet's inner rhythm. The magma itself is a storyteller. It begins as rock softened by immense heat, moving upward through channels formed over eons. Its journey is slow, patient, deliberate, reshaping minerals, gathering chemical energy, preparing to create new terrain above. You feel the story in your imagination, a narrative of fire moving in silence beneath your feet. As the magma nears the surface, gases expand, pressure builds within the chamber, and cracks begin to form. These are not violent fractures, but small, patient adjustments in the stone, making room for the Earth's molten heart to emerge. The volcano grows gradually, layer upon layer, eruption upon eruption, each adding to its silent monument. You observe the landscape forming around it. New rock solidifies, cooling in the air, creating ridges, slopes, and plateaus. Ash settles like dust on the surrounding valleys, nourishing soil for future life. Rivers may reroute, forests may adapt, and creatures of all kinds respond to the evolving terrain. Volcanoes, in their patient awakening, teach the rhythm of creation through both destruction and growth. The movement of magma is a meditation in slow motion. It bends, pools, and finally emerges, shaping the surface with artistry beyond human time. Every eruption carries minerals from the mantle, each layer recording a moment in Earth's internal clock. The process is both destructive and creative, as the land changes its face, preparing for new ecosystems, new rivers, new mountains. Hydrothermal systems often form near active volcanoes. Water seeps into fractures, heated by magma, emerging as hot springs and geysers. These systems sustain life in unexpected ways, feeding bacteria, plants, and animals, and reminding you that the Earth's fire is also a source of life. Creation flows even from molten stone. Volcanoes are not merely solitary peaks. They often form chains, tracing subduction zones or rift valleys. Each peak reflects the slow rhythm of the mantle below, the invisible dance of heat. From afar, the land seems stable, but beneath, magma rises, the Earth stretches, and the planet continues its patient construction of the surface. Consider the lava that flows during an eruption. It spreads slowly, carrying heat and minerals, cooling into new rock that will become part of the Earth's crust. Over centuries, these flows build layers, each a page in the planet's autobiography. You sense the patience in every inch of cooled basalt, the quiet accumulation of power over millennia. The gases released are subtle, yet profound. water vapor, carbon dioxide, and sulfur ascend into the atmosphere, reminding you that the Earth communicates in many ways. The sky above may fill with clouds, ash may drift over valleys, and the planet continues its dialogue between interior fire and surface life. Life adapts to volcanic activity. Forests regrow on cooled lava. Rivers carve new paths around hardened flows, and animals move across transformed terrain. Even humans have learned to coexist with these giants, building settlements, observing eruptions, and finding meaning in the planet's slow cycles of creation. You can imagine the Earth's pulse in this process. The magma chamber fills and empties, pressure rises and releases, and the volcano breathes in rhythm with the planet. Each eruption, while dramatic, is part of a long, patient meditation, a reflection of timescales beyond human perception. From your perspective, you feel both awe and calm. The volcano is not sudden or chaotic. It is deliberate, shaping the land with infinite patience. The mountain grows slowly, layer by layer, and you are witness to the quiet force of creation. You realize that the Earth does not rush, but moves in rhythms measured in centuries and millennia. As the lava cools, new minerals crystallize. The mountain records the journey of magma, the history of subduction, and the story of the mantle below. Volcanoes, like silent historians, preserve the memory of the Earth's interior, telling a tale of heat, pressure, and patient transformation. You drift with the imagery, floating through time, carried by the slow heartbeat of molten stone. The surrounding landscape continues to evolve. Ash enriches soil, rivers adapt to flows, and life follows the path of creation. Mountains rise slowly, valleys deepen, and the Earth cycles through quiet eruptions, patiently shaping the surface without urgency. You sense a profound connection to these rhythms, understanding that even the most powerful forces move with intention, and as night deepens, you feel the promise of future eruptions. The slow birth of new mountains, the patient shaping of continents. The Earth reminds you that creation is continuous, that destruction is transformation, and that beneath your feet, the planet sings a quiet song of fire and stone. You lie in this awareness, listening to the heartbeat of magma, the slow, deliberate breathing of volcanoes, and you drift into sleep, carried by the patient rhythm of the planet's interior. You wonder softly what landscapes will rise next when fire and stone meet sky, and the Earth continues its eternal meditation. Imagine standing on a vast plain. The horizon stretches endlessly, a soft curve under the sky. Beneath your feet, the land is layered with memory, millions of years of molten rock, cooled and flattened, forming the surface you walk upon. This is a volcanic plain, a testament to patience where fire once flowed, now resting in quiet permanence. Long ago, lava surged from fissures and vents, rivers of molten rock that moved slowly, deliberately, filling valleys, spreading across lowlands, and creating broad, flat expanses of basalt. You can trace the path of these flows in your imagination, as if the Earth had painted the land with gentle strokes, layer upon layer, waiting for time to soften its edges. The plains are not uniform. Some are smooth and unbroken, others fractured by faults, rivers, and the subtle pull of gravity. Every fissure, every crack is a trace of the Earth's patient motion. Even in stillness, the land continues to change, eroded by wind, rain, and the slow drip of time. You sense the rhythm in these movements, a quiet heartbeat underlying the vast landscape. Volcanic plateaus rise from these plains, their surfaces formed by repeated lava flows over millennia. They are silent witnesses to the Earth's molten history, each layer a page in a story written in stone. You imagine yourself walking atop one of these plateaus, feeling the ancient heat that once poured here, now cooled, solidified, and waiting for life to settle. Rivers wind across the plains, carving subtle paths, their courses guided by the contours of cooled lava. Water, patient and persistent, slowly reshapes the surface, tracing valleys where molten rock hardened, eroding edges, and creating fertile soil for future life. You feel the soft persistence of these forces, working without urgency, sculpting the land with care. Life follows the contours of the plains. Grass and shrubs cling to cracks and slopes. Animals move along the gentle undulations, and trees take root where soil gathers. Even the smallest organisms sense the patience of the landscape, adapting to slow changes in temperature, moisture, and nutrients. The plains are alive, though motion here is measured in centuries, and life moves in harmony with the slow rhythms of stone. You notice the texture of the basalt beneath your feet. It is rough in some places, smooth in others, cracked by thermal expansion and contraction over time. Minerals glint subtly in the sunlight, reminding you that even a flat plain is layered with complexity. Each grain of rock carries a history of heat, pressure, and flow, a quiet testament to the patient artistry of the planet. Wind sweeps across the plains, gentle yet persistent. It carries dust, seeds, and moisture, eroding stones slowly, creating small dunes, and shaping the land with invisible hands. Time and weather are partners in the quiet transformation of the plains, reminding you that even still landscapes are never static. The rhythm here is unhurried, measured, eternal. In some places, the plains are interrupted by extinct volcanic cones. They rise like small reminders of the fiery past, their slopes worn by rain and wind, softened over millennia. You imagine the eruptions that formed them, lava spilling from vents, flowing into the lowlands, and slowly solidifying into the monuments you see today. These cones are islands of history, markers of the patient and persistent creativity of the Earth. Beneath the surface, the planet continues to move. Magma chambers lie dormant, their heat slowly transferring to the surrounding rock. Even without eruptions, the Earth is alive, its forces shaping what you see above. Plains, valleys, rivers, and plateaus are not random, but the results of precise, patient motions over time. You feel connected to this rhythm, your breath matching the slow pulse of creation beneath your feet. Erosion works silently on these plains, rivers deepening channels, wind carving subtle shapes, and glaciers, when they pass, grinding the land into smooth surfaces. Even the largest formations are softened, their edges dulled by the patient persistence of natural forces. The plains are a meditation in slow motion, a lesson in endurance and gentle transformation. You might notice lava tubes hidden beneath the surface, formed when molten rock cooled on the outside but flowed internally. These tunnels are pathways of the past, secret corridors where fire once traveled, now empty, silent, yet still part of the landscape's memory. Life can find shelter here, and water may seep through, sustaining ecosystems in hidden ways. The plains are both open and secret, revealing and concealing at the same time, a living meditation in stone and space sometimes. The plains are dotted with lakes, formed where lava created depressions, or where erosion filled basins with water. Reflections shimmer in the sunlight, mirroring the sky and the distant mountains. You sense the interplay of water and stone, the soft dialogue between liquid and solid, and you feel carried along by the gentle flow of time. The horizon is never still. The plains shift imperceptibly with tectonic motion, even as the flows that created them have long since solidified. Continents continue to drift, mountains grow slowly at the edges, and rivers adjust their courses with patience. Every element of the plains is connected, a silent network of forces shaping the earth in rhythm with itself. Animals follow these rhythms, too. Migratory paths align with gentle valleys, predators move through subtle undulations. And birds ride thermal currents above. Even humans have settled on these plains, building communities, cultivating crops, and tracing the gentle curves of the land. The plains are hospitable, yet they remind you that life must always move with patience, adapting to changes that occur slowly but inexorably. Minerals in the plains tell the story of volcanic history. Basalt, andesite, and other rocks reveal the temperature, pressure, and chemistry of eruptions long past. You imagine holding a single rock, feeling its ancient heat and the energy it once carried, connecting you intimately to processes older than humanity. The plains are a library written in stone, each layer a chapter in the Earth's meditation. You notice how light changes across the plains. Morning casts long shadows, midday flattens the textures, and sunset bathes the land in warm hues. Time, here, is both daily and geologic, each cycle unfolding like a wave, moving gently across the landscape. You feel your own rhythm align with this pattern, breathing with the slow pulse of continents and stone. Even the silence is alive. The plains carry echoes of eruptions, rivers, and wind, subtle vibrations that you cannot always hear. They remind you that the earth moves continuously, even in apparent stillness. Every grain of dust, every drop of water, every blade of grass is a note in a symphony of endurance, a meditation in slow, deliberate change. The plains also hold secrets of human history. Ancient communities settled on flat lava plateaus, drawing water from rivers, building homes with stone, and learning to live in harmony with the subtle shifts of the land. You feel connected to both human and geologic time, aware that patience is a shared rhythm between stone, water, wind, and life. As night falls, the plains become softer, the horizon blending with the sky, and the land whispers in subtle ways. You imagine the molten rivers long gone, the eruptions that shaped these expanses, and the slow flow of water and wind that continues to sculpt the earth today. The plains breathe with gentle power, an enduring meditation on time, patience, and transformation, and as you lie in quiet, you feel the flow of continents, the echoes of fire and water, and the slow shaping of the earth under your feet. The whispering plains carry you gently into the rhythm of the planet's endless creation, and toward the next chapter, where rivers, oceans, and life continue the quiet shaping of continents. Imagine a river as it begins its journey, a tiny trickle of water emerging from a mountain spring. It is small and delicate, yet it carries potential, a patient force that will, over centuries, sculpt the land itself. You follow it in your imagination, watching it gain strength as tributaries join, as rainfall nourishes its path, and as it winds through forests, plains, and valleys. The river does not rush. It flows at its own rhythm, sometimes gentle, sometimes strong, but always deliberate, carving, shaping, carrying. Its energy is both subtle and profound, eroding the land slowly, transporting sediments like a careful artist moving paint, leaving traces of its passage behind. You notice the texture of the riverbed, pebbles smooth with repeated contact, sand grains layered in delicate strata, and larger rocks polished by centuries of water. Each element tells a story of motion, of collisions, abrasions, and quiet persistence. The river is a sculptor, and the landscape is its canvas. As it flows downstream, the river encounters obstacles. Boulders, fallen trees, and meanders redirect its path. Yet the river adapts, carving new channels, finding the path of least resistance, and continuing its patient journey toward the sea. You feel the rhythm of this persistence, the quiet determination inherent in every flowing drop. Over time, the river creates valleys and gorges. The water's slow force deepens channels, carving through stone, exposing layers of sediment, and revealing the history of the land. You imagine standing on the edge of a canyon, the river far below. Each curve a result of countless millennia, each layer a memory of Earth's patience. Rivers deposit sediments as they flow. Gravel, sand, silt, and clay settle in calmer stretches, building fertile plains and deltas. These deposits nourish life, providing habitats for plants, animals, and humans. The river, in its patient work, becomes a source of sustenance, a provider, and a quiet guide for the evolution of ecosystems. Life follows the river's rhythm. Trees line the banks, their roots stabilizing the soil. Animals drink from its waters. Fish migrate upstream and downstream, and microorganisms thrive in currents and pools. The river is a living artery, pulsing with energy, sustaining everything in its path. Rivers are also archives of time. Sediments preserve pollen, shells, and fossils, telling the story of past climates, flora, and fauna. The river carries these memories downstream, layering them in deltas, floodplains, and estuaries. You sense this continuity, understanding that every bend and meander is a page in the Earth's autobiography. Some rivers flow through volcanic plains, where lava once spread across the land. Here, The water traces paths dictated by ancient flows, finding channels through solidified basalt and ash. Over centuries, rivers shape even the hardest rock, carving valleys, creating rapids, and smoothing edges, a testament to the persistent power of flowing water. The river's energy varies with seasons. Snow melt and rainfall swell its currents, sometimes creating floods that reshape the landscape. Yet these floods are part of the natural cycle, redistributing sediments, nourishing soils, and preparing the land for new growth. You feel the balance in this rhythm, the interplay of water, time, and life. As the river approaches plains, it slows, spreading into meanders, oxbow lakes, and wetlands. Here, deposition dominates, and the landscape softens under the patient touch of water. The plains whisper with gentle movement, grass sways with the current, and wildlife flourishes. The river's journey becomes a meditation, a slow, deliberate shaping of the world it touches. Rivers eventually meet the sea, their waters mingling with the vast ocean, bringing sediments, nutrients, and stories of the land. Deltas form, fan-shaped and fertile, providing life to countless species. You feel the river's journey in your imagination. From mountain spring to ocean, a continuous flow of transformation and renewal. Even underground, rivers continue their work. Aquifers and subterranean streams move quietly, sustaining life far from the surface, eroding rock and shaping caverns. The Earth's pulse is not always visible, yet it is always present, a constant, rhythmic flow beneath your feet. Human civilizations have followed rivers for millennia. Settlements, agriculture, and trade all trace the paths of these waterways. Rivers have been guides, boundaries, and sources of sustenance. You feel the connection between past and present, between human and geological time, and the quiet meditation of life moving in harmony with flowing water. Floodplains reveal the river's patience. Each layer of silt, each meander, each bend is a marker of seasons, years, and centuries. The land remembers the river's touch, even as it slowly shifts and changes. You sense the invisible dialogue between stone and water, between persistence and adaptability. Rivers also carve canyons, exposing the Earth's deep history. Sedimentary layers, fossils, and ancient soils become visible, telling tales of climates long past. You imagine standing on a cliff, looking down at the river winding below, feeling the slow passage of time beneath your feet, and the patient artistry of flowing water. Even when rivers dry temporarily, their channels remain reminders of movement, patience, and transformation. Water returns with seasons or rain, and the cycle continues, unbroken. You sense the rhythm of life following this pulse, the quiet endurance of landscapes shaped by flowing currents. Tributaries feed larger rivers, each bringing their own sediments, stories, and energy. Together, they form networks, veins across the continent, connecting mountains, plains, and oceans. You feel part of this network, carried along by imagination, drifting with the currents of time and stone. The river's power is subtle yet persistent. It may not uproot mountains in a day, but over centuries, it reshapes valleys, deepens canyons, and enriches soils. You understand that endurance can be more powerful than sudden force, and that patient, continuous motion leaves a lasting mark. You notice how life adapts to the river's moods. Floods may alter the landscape, yet vegetation regrows, animals find new paths, and the ecosystem thrives in harmony with flowing water. The river teaches resilience, flexibility, and patience, its slow hand guiding life in delicate balance. Rivers carve not only valleys, but also human imagination. They inspire art, music, and stories, reflecting the quiet passage of time, the endless journey from source to sea. You feel the connection between the earth's movements and your own inner rhythm, the pulse of water mirroring the pulse of life itself. As the sun sets, the river glows in golden light. Shadows stretch across its meanders, and the landscape becomes soft, reflective, like a meditation of stone, water, and sky. You drift with the river, your thoughts carried gently by its currents, feeling the slow, deliberate shaping of countenance, plains, and valleys. And as you sink deeper into rest, you imagine the river continuing its journey, millennia passing like moments, erosion and deposition sculpting the land, and life moving in harmony with the patient flow of time. The earth hums softly, and you are part of this quiet, eternal rhythm, carried gently into the next chapter, where the ocean spreads its vast, reflective embrace across the continents. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean. The water stretches farther than your eyes can see, its surface shimmering with sunlight, its depths hiding worlds of mystery and movement. The ocean is alive, yet patient, its vastness a meditation in motion, its rhythm measured in tides, currents, and the slow flow of energy. You feel the tides pull beneath your feet. The ocean rises, reaches forward, then retreats with the quiet grace of inhalation and exhalation. It is the planet's own breathing, a pulse connecting land and sea, currents and continents, life above and below the surface. You sense the ebb and flow as if it mirrors your own heartbeat, soft, slow, and steady, beneath the waves. Currents move in invisible highways. Warm water from the equator drifts toward the poles, while cold water sinks and flows beneath, creating a deep, endless circulation. These currents carry heat, nutrients, and life itself, linking distant coasts and entire ecosystems. You drift with the flow, feeling the quiet connectivity of the oceans, as if every drop of water is a note in a planetary symphony. The coasts are shaped by the patient power of waves. Rocks crumble slowly, sand forms, beaches stretch like soft carpets. Over centuries, cliffs are worn away, inlets deepen, and estuaries cradle rivers as they meet the sea. The shoreline is a living edge, always in motion yet familiar, a gentle interface between land and water. Beneath the surface, the ocean is a landscape of its own. Continental shelves slope into vast abysses. Trenches plunge deeper than mountains rise, and underwater volcanoes create new lands quietly and slowly. The seafloor is shaped by both fire and pressure, a continuation of the planet's patient interior work. You imagine the ocean as a deep, rhythmic extension of the continents, its vastness reflecting the planet's infinite scale. Waves move with subtle energy. They rise and fall, break against coasts, and carry sediments along the shore. Even the smallest ripple is part of a larger rhythm, a pattern repeated across oceans, seas, and lakes. The motion of water is patient yet persistent, wearing down the hardest rock over centuries, and shaping the surface of the earth with deliberate care. Tides bring a quiet, celestial rhythm. The moon's pull guides the rise and fall of waters, an elegant dance between the earth and its satellite. You feel this pull in your imagination, a gentle reminder that even the grandest forces move with grace. Tidal flats emerge at low water, revealing mud, sand, and the tiny life forms that thrive there. Every ebb and flow is a lesson in patience, a reminder that even immense energy can move softly. Life flourishes within this aquatic meditation. Fish follow currents, plankton drifts with tides, and coral reefs grow slowly, layer by layer. The ocean is a quiet teacher of resilience, showing you that growth is measured in small, continuous steps, and that patience yields abundant life. Even the largest creatures, whales and sharks, follow the slow rhythm of feeding, migrating, and resting. Deep currents carry nutrients across the ocean. Upwelling brings life to the surface, feeding plankton and supporting entire food webs. You imagine the journey of a single molecule of water, traveling thousands of kilometers, mixing warmth, minerals, and life across the globe. Every particle participates in a quiet, ongoing meditation, connecting seas, rivers, and continents in invisible ways. The ocean's soundscape is both calming and alive. Waves lap against shores, underwater currents hum through trenches, and marine life contributes whispers of clicks, calls, and movements. Even silence here is meaningful, a reflection of the planet's endless, patient flow. You feel your breath aligning with the water's rhythm, each inhale rising like a wave, each exhale retreating like a tide. Underwater volcanoes continue the planet's quiet construction. Magma rises beneath the ocean floor, creating new islands and seamounts. Hydrothermal vents release heat and minerals, feeding ecosystems that thrive in total darkness. You sense the balance between creation and destruction, the patient transformation that continues beneath the waves, a quiet echo of the processes that shape continents. Currents also transport sediments. Rivers deposit particles into estuaries, which are carried along continental shelves, reshaping coasts and nourishing life. The ocean is patient, distributing material gently, like an artist arranging grains of sand. Over centuries, entire coastlines evolve, morphing under the steady hand of flowing water. You notice the way light behaves in the ocean. Sunlight penetrates only the upper layers, creating a gentle gradient of illumination. Below, darkness reigns, yet life persists in quiet adaptation. The ocean teaches you that beauty is not always immediate, that unseen processes sustain the visible world. Patience here is life itself, measured in slow growth, quiet cycles, and endless adaptation. The ocean floor is not uniform. It has mountains, plains, trenches, and volcanic ridges. Each feature is a record of time, a history of movement, pressure, and thermal energy. Sediments accumulate over millennia, preserving fossils, chemical signatures, and echoes of past climates. You feel connected to this deep history, floating in your mind along currents that trace the stories of Earth, waves shape beaches and cliffs alike. Storms may sculpt dramatic cliffs, while gentle tides deposit sand in soft layers. Even erosion is meditative, a slow conversation between water and stone. The ocean's hand is deliberate, persistent, and patient, teaching that transformation requires time, and that even immense forces can act with subtlety. Life thrives along coastal margins. Mangroves anchor soil, seagrasses filter water, and birds migrate along the edges of land and sea. Tides and waves guide organisms, and the rhythm of the ocean is their pulse. You feel a deep resonance with this flow, understanding that life moves with patience, in harmony with cycles far older than your own. Currents stretch across oceans, connecting continents. They carry warm equatorial waters to colder seas, balancing temperatures and sustaining life. The planet moves as one organism, rivers feeding seas, tides rising and falling, and currents circulating energy silently and continuously. You drift along these flows, carried by the quiet choreography of Earth. The horizon meets sky in a gentle gradient. Sunsets reflect on the waves, and you notice the subtle motion of tides and swells. Even in vastness, the ocean communicates patterns, its surface a mirror of energy, life, and patient motion. You feel the continuity of cycles, the endless interaction between ocean and atmosphere, between water, stone, and life itself. Storms and winds shape the ocean too. Waves grow tall, tides swell, and currents shift, yet even these forces are temporary in the grand rhythm. The ocean absorbs, adjusts, and returns to balance, teaching you the quiet power of resilience. Even the fiercest events become part of a meditative cycle, echoing the rhythms of geological and planetary time. And as night deepens, the ocean quiets, its surface reflecting moonlight, its depths pulsing gently with hidden currents. You feel your own breath align with the tides, your mind floating with currents, your body syncing with the gentle rhythm of waves. The oceans embrace the earth with infinite patience. They carry sediments, heat, life, and memory across continents. They sculpt coasts, nourish ecosystems, and connect every living being to the pulse of the planet. You drift in this embrace, feeling the quiet eternity of water shaping stone, and the rhythmic continuity of life carried by tides and currents. And as sleep carries you deeper, you sense the earth's next meditation, mountains rising, continents colliding, and the subtle power of tectonic movement, ready to continue the patient shaping of the world. Imagine the Earth's crust as a slow-moving puzzle. Gigantic plates drift imperceptibly, pushing against one another with relentless patience. You feel the pressure beneath your feet, the silent force of continents converging over millions of years. These movements are subtle yet unstoppable, and they give birth to mountains, their peaks climbing toward the sky in quiet triumph. The process begins deep below, where heat and pressure soften rocks over millennia. Plates collide like glaciers, moving inches per year, crushing sediments, folding strata, and lifting the land into folds, ridges, and peaks. The mountains you see are monuments to patience. Not sudden upheaval, but patient, deliberate creation on a planetary scale. You imagine standing at the foot of a young range. The slopes are raw, jagged, and fresh, rocks freshly uplifted, rivers cutting channels, and glaciers etching paths in their slow, unyielding flow. Even in their power, the mountains are quiet teachers, showing you that time is measured in patience, and that colossal forces move with a rhythm beyond human perception. Sedimentary layers, folded by tectonic collisions, tell stories of ancient oceans. You trace them with your mind's eye, imagining the seas that once covered these lands, the sediments that settled slowly over ages, and the forces that finally thrust them skyward. Each layer is a memory of water, pressure, and life, now transformed into rock. Standing tall as mountains, glaciers carve the mountains further. Ice moves imperceptibly, grinding stone, transporting sediments, and shaping valleys. The land is patient, resilient, yet ever-changing, responding to the rhythm of ice, water, and wind. Even the tallest peaks bear marks of erosion, softened in corners, etched in curves, and polished by the patient hands of weather. Rivers emerge from mountain springs, cascading down slopes, carving gorges, and carrying sediments to plains below. Water and stone continue a dialogue begun millions of years ago, sculpting valleys, feeding ecosystems, and guiding the flow of life across the continents. The mountains are alive in this sense, both as stone and as vessels for the circulation of energy and matter. The vertical ascent is slow, deliberate, measured in millimeters per year. Yet, over millions of years, the peaks touch the sky. You sense the immensity of time in this process, the quiet patience required to lift stone toward clouds. Mountains are a meditation in verticality, a testament to the persistent motion of the planet's interior. Weather continues to sculpt these giants. Rain, snow, and wind abrade their surfaces, carving spires, cliffs, and ridges. Even as tectonics pushes upward, erosion pulls downward, creating a dynamic balance between creation and destruction. You feel the subtle rhythms of these forces, a slow, meditative pulse that echoes across valleys and peaks. Life adapts to this vertical world. Alpine plants cling to rocky slopes, animals navigate cliffs and ridges with precision, and microorganisms survive in cracks where moisture collects. The mountains teach resilience and patience, showing you that life thrives in harmony with slow, persistent forces, and that even extreme environments are part of Earth's meditation. Volcanic activity sometimes punctuates mountain ranges. Magma rises, forming peaks and altering the landscape, adding new layers to existing summits. You feel the interplay of fire and stone, the quiet tension between creation and destruction, and the patient rhythm of Earth continuing its work. Mountains, though massive, are not immutable. They breathe with the planet, rise and erode, responding to forces invisible yet relentless. Continental collisions create vast plateaus as well as peaks. The land is compressed, folded, and elevated, creating high plains and deep valleys. You imagine the patient pressure of stone pushing skyward, shaping rivers and winds, and sculpting a landscape that will endure for millennia. The plateaus themselves are silent teachers, reminding you that even vast expanses are formed with patience and care. The mountains store memory of Earth's internal heat. Metamorphic rocks reveal temperature and pressure histories, tracing journeys deep within the crust. You feel connected to this hidden world, imagining the forces that transform ordinary rock into garnet, quartz, and mica, and the immense timescales over which these changes occur. Every crystal, every layer, is a quiet record of Earth's patient, meditative rhythm. Wind shapes the upper slopes. Ridges are softened, spires polished, and peaks sculpted. Snow and ice melt seasonally, feeding streams and rivers below. Even in apparent stillness, the mountains are dynamic, a dialogue of stone, air, and water that continues endlessly. You sense the rhythm in this interplay, matching your own slow, meditative breathing with the pulse of the peaks. Glacial valleys are deep and quiet. U-shaped troughs, polished surfaces, and moraines are evidence of immense patience, of ice-grinding stone millimeter by millimeter, century by century. You imagine the glacier's weight, cold yet inexorable, shaping rock, creating lakes, and preparing niches for life. Mountains are not only vertical monuments. They are repositories of geological patience, storing energy and history in stone and ice. Rivers born from glaciers feed larger watersheds. Sediments transported downstream nourish valleys, plains, and deltas. Life follows these veins, migrating, feeding, and thriving. The mountains are silent conductors, guiding water, nutrients, and energy across the continent. You drift along these flows, carried by the meditative pulse of stone, ice, and water working in harmony. The peaks reach skyward, touching clouds. Weather patterns form around them. Wind is redirected, precipitation gathers, and life adapts to altitude and exposure. Mountains, though massive, are not separate from the world. They interact with atmosphere, oceans, and human perception. You sense the vertical rhythm in this interplay, a slow heartbeat connecting stone, air, and life. Even tectonics continues beneath your feet. The plates move imperceptibly, pressure builds in folds and faults, and the landscape is constantly evolving. Peaks rise, valleys deepen, and the planet's surface reshapes itself, all in quiet, patient motion. You feel the weight of time in these processes, measured not in days or years, but in millennia. In the patient ascent of mountains, the mountains store water in snow and ice, feeding rivers that shape plains below. They regulate climate, influence wind, and sustain life. Their rhythms are connected to oceans, rivers, and plains, a vast network of interdependent forces. You sense your own place within this system, a quiet witness to the patient artistry of Earth. As sunlight warms the peaks, shadows stretch across valleys. You see ridges, spires, and glaciers, each sculpted by forces of unimaginable patience. Even as storms sweep across summits, the mountains endure, teaching resilience, stillness, and meditative endurance. And as night deepens, you lie among imagined peaks, feeling the pulse of the planet beneath your feet, the patient ascent of stone, and the rhythm of continents climbing toward the sky. You drift with this vertical meditation, carried gently into the next chapter, where Earth's slow interior forces continue to shape valleys, plains, and life itself.